Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 466 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded February 23rd, 2026.
We need your help to support Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link to the right.
Excellent. And now our favorite segment of the show.
Yeah.
And it also provides us with plausible deniability. What are we drinking? And as is tradition, and because currently she's the only other person on the podcast, we will start with Liz. Liz, what are you drinking?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate myself for getting through Ian's part with little to no mistakes.
No,
So,
that's good. You did a
yeah,
wonderful job.
I haven't had too much of the Guinness yet, but that is what I'm drinking tonight.
Excellent choice.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of the Guinness.
I really like Harp too. Big,
Yeah,
big.
although I have to say, like my favorite of all of like the British things is either like a Guinness or a Bass.
Oh, I don't know if I've had Bass. I haven't, to be
Oh,
fair, like I had some cheap beer when I was over there, like Tennant's.
yeah, but I mean that's a good one too.
It's pretty like run of the mill, like
Yeah, but I don't know. I like it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
I,
it.
I would not say I have sophisticated beer taste though.
I don't think I do either. I am a big fan of like a dark, like a Guinness, because it's
Yeah, you should try Bass because it's in that same like
okay.
style where like they use the nitrogen instead of the thing, so like when you drink it it's not like overly gassy, so
Mm,
like it's nice and smooth, like see, it's very drinkable,
I like that.
which is part of the problem and the appeal.
Yes, 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 yes. I can
Yeah.
understand that. I can
Yeah.
understand that. What are you drinking?
Did you do anything on the Patriot Challenge?
Oh yeah, sorry. Um,
No, it's good. It's been
so
a while.
it has been
I
a minute.
got you.
It has been a minute. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I actually the reason that I'm ball capping it is I just came back from a boxing class, so
Nice.
didn't have time to run and do my hair for the pod, so
That's all right.
it's kind of a hot mess under here, but yeah, so that's definitely a thing. I'm I don't know if there's too much else on there that I can just tick off
That
at the top of my
that
head.
the boxing's a good one
It's a
in a number of ways. I'd say that counts. Like if you did it for more than 45 minutes, that's your
oh, it was
exercise.
hour of terror. This
Yeah,
loved
it's
it.
also, a skill,
Yeah.
and it quite literally could be you improving your fighting position. Oh, like,
Very literal.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
literal. Yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm drinking Signal Hill and the Pepsi Zero this evening as per SOP.
That's good.
Patriot Challenge stuff. Yeah, doing my reading. Slacked a little bit on my water drinking over the last couple of days, and I'm kind of paying for it because I'm feel very dry. So I gotta step my game up tomorrow. But over the weekend, I was practicing some fun skills. Um, Ed Calderon of Ed's Manifesto was in town. We were running his urban movement class, so learning all about manipulating people and the environment around you and learning how to, observe it and or disrupt it as is required to achieve your goal, but
Ooh,
only in an emergency, because,
right.
yes, or in the movie script that I'm writing.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a good one. It was good to see him and some other friends that were at the class. So it was fun.
That's
Good
awesome.
times.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a very productive weekend.
Well, it was, I mean, there's an article that's kind of related to it later, but I'll maybe talk a little bit about it now. Not that we're big on international politics here, but
I
Ed,
I
obviously
like it.
from Mexico, from Tijuana,
Yeah.
um, his phone was blowing up like crazy on Sunday as all of the craziness kicked off in Mexico, and like in an area that he was literally in like 2, 3 months ago.
That's wild.
Um, Yeah. So that was crazy. And also, so the class that we were doing, the very first iteration of it that he ran was in Mexico, in the area that all of this craziness is going on. And some of those original students were the ones that were sending him information about like what is
Um,
going on. So it was kind of wild watching all of this happen because it's like here is direct application of some of the stuff that we are learning and sort of like the weird feedback loop of like they did the class like a decade ago, learned some stuff
wow.
and have put it into practice and are now feeding the results back into the loop. And we are like in real life, in the moment, hearing about all of this and how it's working and applying some of those same things and the things that they're learning currently to the things that we're learning currently.
Yeah.
And just like it was wild. And we're just getting some pretty interesting updates and insights into all of the things going on faster than the news is getting it because we're getting it like because of the work that he's done and the people that
Right.
he knows like we got confirmation that that guy was dead long like and with picture evidence long before the media or anything, so it's pretty wild. um
Well, and you guys probably better news because
oh yeah, like direct from the source, like
yeah, and just, maybe not. I'm very skeptical of, just like any media
oh
isn't coming from, a person on the ground these days. So
yeah,
I would say that you're probably in a good position
yeah,
to say, oh yeah, you know what the news is feeding out through is accurate or is not, right?
yeah. But no, it was pretty interesting with all of that going on and just yeah.
Yeah, the world's a
But
pretty crazy place these days.
yeah, glad more and more that I have some of these skill sets and
Mm.
knowledge things just floating around in my head that I will hopefully never need to use. But if I do, um, yeah, they'll come in handy. We'll talk about that a little later because there's a thing about that and the Canadians that are trapped there.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, everyone else should grab the Patriot Challenge template from the website and post it to your social medias so that you can brag and or entice your enemies into a contest of some kind. We'd love to hear your feedback. I don't know if those feedback links work, so just find us somehow. Maybe type them in the comments of the show. We may or may not read them. Probably will. Upcoming events, I know the Army Run is coming up in September. The Verstaleca Remote Military March will also be happening soon, but I haven't seen anything about that, as will Resul, but we will give you that information when it starts. But let's get into the news. Um, some
Mm.
updates on the gun buyback. So the voluntary program, which
Mhm.
is the compensation part of the program, although you will not get compensated anything meaningful, if anything at all, that ends March 31st. So like just over a month from now, you will no longer be able to participate in the voluntary part of the program. And
Right.
as of February 20th, so a few days ago, 32,000 firearms have been declared since January 19th. Now, in that first week of the program, I think they had something like 22,000 firearms that were declared in that first week. So we're now closing out on three weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks, four
Yeah.
weeks now.
4 weeks. Yep.
And so 22,000 in week one, 32,000 in week four. And they are trying to pass this off as a success. That
Well,
sounds pretty. I mean, it's more guns than I would have hoped,
mhm.
but 32,000 out of a possible 2 million or more, pretty small drop in the bucket.
I kind of think though that 32,000 is likely individuals that, grandfathered into the system, maybe not active users or collectors themselves. That would be my guess anyway, right? Is that you've got some streamliners that just are like, oh, hey, the government said to do this. I don't really
Yeah.
understand how not to do this. But the average
Yep.
person who is a collector or a user themselves, and active in it, or, you don't have to be active in it, you can be relatively passive.
Yeah.
But if it's something that, you're
Yep.
interested in, I would say that those are probably the individuals that are holding out because they do understand that
Yeah,
there's
that there's some other options.
there's other
Yeah.
options, and that, like, there's advocacy that's working on it, but there's legal aspect too that,
Yep.
and also, um this timeline, I
Oh yeah,
based
it's
on based on based on what, even police forces are saying when they're saying, like, oh, hey, we're not going to be participating in this, that sort of thing. This timeline is unrealistic.
oh,
um
100%.
because
Like
also, like, the government pretty much stops working all summer, so when we
yeah.
see this, when we see this, like, oh, the fall, this is gonna be like a deadline, I was like, what, of next year? you
Yeah.
know
Well, and that's the thing. So like they've given us from January 19th to March 31st to declare
yeah,
our intent basically and what firearms we plan to surrender to them for compensation.
yeah,
They have not filled us in on the rest of the program and how it's going to work, though. They say that come April 1,
yeah,
which is kind of an odd date for them to tell us how the rest of the program is going to roll out. But April 1, April Fool's Day, they will roll out the rest of the program or start doing that, um, to tell us what for those that did declare how they are supposed to go about turning those in.
hmm,
And then sometime between April 1 and October 30, they will have to collect all of those guns because that's when the amnesty ends. So even if you have declared it and done all of the things, if you have not turned that in by that date, you are a criminal. I don't think they're going to, I mean, with only 32,000 guns, it probably would take them that long to figure out how to collect them.
yeah,
But which is a rough estimate, approximately 1.5% compliance rate for this, based on an average like 2 million speculation of guns that would be out there. Some of them we have no idea because they are not registered and there's no idea of how many numbers are actually out there. But yeah, the other interesting things about this, so part of this is come April 1 when they do this, um, the collection will either be mobile units, which sounds frightening, RCMP detachments or local police departments that haven't told them to fuck off.
yeah. And okay, so for clarification too, this is just based on a list of firearms though, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Well,
like,
and so that's the other thing that's interesting about this. So, the orders and councils and so on and so forth that have
the
come
list
out
has been
since,
updated insanely too many times.
yes, but so it's all of the stuff that essentially since May 2020
Yeah.
through order and council that have been prohibited. So like your ARs, your XCRs, your pink GSG 22s, all those dangerous, deadly weapons of war, all of that stuff. The interesting thing, though, is that anything that has like a 12.5 or some other 12 designation, like a legit actual machine gun,
Mhm.
none of that stuff's included. And if you have the right licensing because you were
Yeah,
born at
like
the
a
right time,
grandfathered
so
prohib.
like, yeah, if you legit own a Tommy gun
Hmm.
because you bought it in like the 60s when you legally could,
Or it was
you
grandfathered, whatever that looks
you
like.
you can still legally own your Tommy gun. So no one is coming and actually taking away legit assault rifles or
Right.
machine guns from you. We are only worried about semi-automatic things
It,
and apparently grenade launchers that nobody owned, but are on the list anyways.
I still find it so crazy. Like, who is writing these lists? Like,
People that don't have a fucking clue.
yeah, I mean, I think we know that. I think that if it
Yeah.
was to, you know, I think we all are aware of that. But I'm just, my
Yeah.
flower has been gasted.
Yep.
Like, I have no other way,
Oh, I know, I know.
no
Like
other way to say it. I was
it's
like, I don't understand, like, you know, most 13-year-olds who grew up on a farm would know the difference, would
Oh,
know,
absolutely. But that's
you
the
know,
thing that's wild is that legally, if you were born at the right time or, whatever, you can still legally own a legit machine gun in this country.
which, you know
But
what?
your Pink 22 is a weapon of
Yeah,
war.
right. And it's, I don't
Yeah.
like make it make sense. I don't
Yeah.
like math is not mathing. All of those like little colloquialisms that
Yeah.
like I can't. I have no idea.
Oh, I know. And then like
Doesn't
this
make sense.
whole like okay, if you have to turn them in, I understand the RCMP doesn't really have a say in it because they're the federal police, so they take direction directly from the feds.
Yeah.
So you will have to go and turn it in at the RCMP detachment in your area. If the local police decide to participate in it, I understand going to their but this mobile units thing scares the shit out of me. Like the whole reason that Canada Post didn't want to touch this is they didn't want like a single location to have,
Yeah.
a significant amount of guns in it so that they could get stolen by criminals. But here you are going like, even if it's the RCMP, what are they going to do? Like have a van? Like that's very easy to overpower. Or are they going to do it like Elections Canada and like rent out a place at the mall for a month? And like none of those sound like great, super secure places to store firearms in any great number.
No, we just live in this giant,
Yeah,
psyop where they're using this entire thing to like bait out,
yeah,
underground criminals. That's what they're
yeah,
gonna do. They're just compiling all of these firearms in one building as a giant bait out to get this
yeah,
criminal ring shut down. That's what I'm believing.
yeah.
Because
That
that's
and
like
so
I was like, this
yeah,
is straight out of a bad movie.
yeah.
Like that's all I can imagine.
Yeah, and some other things for people that might be listening that aren't unsure of what their other options are. So, if you do not participate in the program, of which this buyback part is the voluntary part,
Mhm.
the mandatory part is that by that October 30th date, you must either dispose of, which generally means I need to contact my local police department, which you can do at any time. Even if they don't want to participate in the buyback, they are kind of obligated to participate in the voluntary surrendering of a firearm at any time. But you would need to arrange that with them to be like, I have this gun I no longer want and I want to dispose of it. Can I please dispose of it at your location? And they will like accept it and do all of that. So you can do that or find some other place that counts as legally disposing of. I don't really know how else you would do that because typically, yeah, it's been turned into police. Or it can be deactivated, which means you take it to a gunsmith that is allowed to deactivate it. This is some other interesting stuff about this. Currently, if I take a restricted item that I still have, like a pistol,
Mhm.
and I need to take it to the gunsmith to get the gunsmith to work on it, I need to call up the CFO or email them and request an ATT to legally transport because I need my magic piece of paper that keeps everyone safe to
Yep.
do that. But previously restricted items that are now prohibited no longer have a registration certificate because they have been nullified.
Oh,
I cannot be issued an ATT for something that does not have a registration certificate. So therefore, I do not need an ATT to take my newly prohibited assault style firearm to the gun store to have it deactivated. So the magic piece of paper that I needed to keep everybody safe a few years ago is now no longer needed to keep people safe for me to take this to get it deactivated.
right.
Also, I need to notify the Canadian Firearms Program if I dispose of or deactivate a restricted item. There is nothing in the rules or anything that says anything about notifying them of me disposing of or deactivating a previously non-restricted item.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting.
it is specifically worded, and I went over this a couple of times to make sure from the email that just went out today from the RCMP, it specifically says previously restricted items, if they are disposed of or deactivated, you must notify them. Nothing about previously non-restricted items. But also failure to dispose of or deactivate by the 30th may result in losing your license and
Would
possible other criminal
right.
consequences.
Would this be something? Because I remember you kind of mentioning way back when that that there's a couple of lawyers that are kind of friendly to the firearms community
Yep,
sort of thing. Um, it's probably wise if somebody's uncertain or hesitant to just like reach out and have a conversation with
absolutely.
legal counsel about stuff like this. Because I mean, Gavin, you're a pretty avid, reader about some of this legislative stuff. But I mean, if
I
I
can
happen to
harness
have
my
something,
autism on a
yeah,
topic, but other people
yeah,
can't. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great
And,
way of putting it. I harness
and
my
it's
autism
confusing.
elsewhere,
Yeah.
but so if I was in that situation, I would probably reach out to like legal counsel to say, hey, what are
Yep.
my actual options here? Because it's word salad. Like,
Oh, absolutely. And the
it,
fact that it specifically says previously restricted and does not mention anything about previously non-restricted
yeah,
or certain items that were not even considered firearms previously.
yeah. Well, because
So,
that's the thing is that some of these, like what was the original coding of some of these that,
yeah.
and some of them weren't even registered,
Well,
right? So
exactly. But
then,
that's my point. Like, so if I
obviously,
had so some of those grenade launchers, which are not grenade launchers, but are flare launchers, because we were never able to buy the grenades that they potentially could launch,
right,
were not even considered a firearm. So it wasn't restricted or non-restricted or prohibited. It was not even a firearm. So that and or like non-restricted, so your pink GSG 22 semi-auto gun was non-restricted. So according to the email that went out today, I can dispose of that or deactivate it, and I do not need to inform them.
right.
Which also like what would they do? Like, hey, we didn't know you owned this thing. Thanks for calling us and telling us that you disposed of it or deactivated it, the thing that we didn't know you had.
Right.
Like they can't do anything about it. The only thing they can do, I guess, is if you have the restricted thing, they will have, even though they say they don't have registration certificates, they still have that information somewhere. Because if you do a declaration, those things that you had a registration certificate for are magically populated onto your sheet automatically for you. But yes, there's some interesting things on how all of this is working and a lot of the nonsense, which like if you start and stop and think for, 30 seconds or more, just shows again how ridiculous all of this is. So that like one, if I have the right licensing, I can still legally own a machine gun, but I have to turn in a semi-auto 22. But if
Yeah.
I want to dispose of and or deactivate the 22 myself, I don't even have to tell them about it. I can just do it.
Well, and this is the thing is that, I think,
It's just make it make sense, right? Like, and you
well, and
can't.
there's so much fear mongering around this.
Yeah.
Um, because, even just using like, hey, you're going to be a criminal. Hey, the
Yeah.
RCMP, like the feds are after you. Kind of that language is just so kind of a dick move,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
People that are going through the process legally and doing everything right and just all this stuff, they're encountering, well, am I doing this right? It's such a sensitive topic for people that maybe aren't as versed or aren't as like willing to resist or push back. It's like, and that's where you're going to
Yeah.
get the numbers is that people are going to really question, well,
Yep.
is it worth me having the stress of compliance or non-compliance to have these firearms?
Yep.
And once you get kind of enough people that are just not willing to fight about it, then you kind of see some data points that will, help motivate people in the government to say this is successful, we'll continue, we've got the back
Yeah. It's
people.
just wild though that with like how low the compliance is, they're already trying to push that successful narrative on us. But I think they're doing that intentionally to make it
Absolutely.
like, oh,
Easy.
like it's working. It's working. So the people that aren't paying attention think that it's working. But yeah, for anyone that is still unsure of what to do, um, obviously this is not legal advice because I am not a lawyer. But what I plan to do
Yeah.
is I plan to wait this out as long as I can. Obviously, I will have to legally comply in some way, shape, or form prior to this October 30th. So, just shy of that deadline, my intention is to go to the local gunsmith and take the items that I have that were previously restricted. So the two ARs that I have, and get the local gun store that is authorized to do this to deactivate them for me. That way, I am not participating in their program and adding to this 32,000 numbers. I am also not competing against my friends and fellow gun owners for pennies on the dollar if I even get that, because that is stupid. This is not a contest between us. And then that way, once they are deactivated, they are mine. They are no longer firearms, and I can do with them as I please. And I will mount them on my wall with a big sign that says, "Remember what they took from you."
Oh,
And I would recommend that everyone else does the same. Again, not legal advice, consult your lawyers or do all of the things, but that is what I will do. And I would love other people to do something similar because fuck them.
yeah. Well, and if folks are just unsure about, whether they
Yeah.
should do this, look at some other countries that have been disarmed and just
Yeah.
follow the timeline because, it's
Yeah.
out there. We are not the first to
No.
that happen. And look for stories and trends that kind of say, okay, well, what
Yeah.
happens culturally and what happens to freedoms and what happens to all this stuff as
Yeah.
this happens, as like once that disarming happens, then what's next? Because there is a whole guide out there of what happens. Like we see
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. I mean, then you can look at places from all around the world, like
yeah.
look at like almost any communist country, what
Mhm.
happened? They all wanted the guns, and then they had the revolution, and all of a sudden the guns were bad and got taken away, and then, and then real communism didn't happen, and that's why it didn't work. Or you can look at, other things on the other side of the political spectrum and look at fascist states where, again, maybe the guns were fine for a moment, and then all of a sudden the guns weren't so bad. So yeah,
There's
yes.
definitely, I think that folks are going to have to start taking a little bit more active role in, understanding world politics. That's all.
Yep.
you know
Well,
and as much as this is a Canadian podcast, like it is really important to like have a look at world
oh,
news because there's a lot of
absolutely.
countries there's a lot of countries that have gone down this path before us. And
Yeah.
I can say that like being in the UK for the last 6 months, um I would say that we're just 3 to 5 years, 3 years, and it's the
Yeah.
gap is closing
Oh,
behind
for sure.
them for some of the nonsense. And
Yeah. I mean, and the US isn't that far behind us. I mean,
no,
there
no.
might have been a bit of a pause on it now with, Orange Man Bad kind of doing that, but like it's only a matter of time before, somebody on the other side of the political spectrum gets in and starts pushing again, and it seems that the pendulum swings further and further each time. So like, it's gone so far to the right under Orange Man that, under whoever's next on the other side, it'll go that much further. So, I mean, guns will become a big thing again and they'll try to ban all of the things. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just,
And
and I don't like being the canary in the coal mine, but here we are. Yeah.
well, and this is the thing is that for folks that argue, like, oh, well, this is folks argue about, like rights, lefts,
Yeah.
conflict, things like that. And I just have to say that there's nothing more unifying than people that are actually aware of what's going on in the world, because the more information that you have and the more intellectual you are and realistic you are about what's going on in the world, you can have
Yeah,
non-violent, non-aggressive conversations with people on the other side of the fence that
well,
don't agree with you.
yeah,
But
we are all like, even people that I violently disagree with, I
absolutely,
would say I have far more similarities than differences. It's just that those differences are important differences to me, but
yes,
there are still far more similarities.
absolutely,
But also
absolutely,
stop being a communist.
yes, yes,
Like, just let people be. Like, just
yeah,
I don't care.
yeah.
Although things I do care about and terrible politicians. Ex-conservative MP Matt Genero crosses floor to join Carney's Liberals.
So how
This
far
one, yeah, this
are
one
we?
really grinded my gears.
Are we just like 3 or 4 away from a majority now?
Um, yes. So part of what has sort of stalled things out on this whole majority minority thing is that there are also three by-elections going on at the moment.
Mm,
So if the Liberals win all three of those by-elections, they will basically reach that magic number where they are like just at the majority. So they
mm,
will have like 50% or whatever it is. So it's still a potential. If all of the other people in Parliament vote against it, there will be a tie.
right,
And then it is up to the Speaker of the House, who is appointed by the ruling party and is generally a member of that party, to break the tie. So you know which way
right.
that will go if they want to keep their job. But the
Yeah.
thing that really pisses me off about this is this particular MP is part of a riding that, to the best of my knowledge, has never once in the history of Canada ever been anything other than conservative.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And previously, I believe in November, they were going to step down from politics because of family reasons.
Mm,
So they actually like tendered their resignation publicly. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're like, psych, I'm actually going to stay in politics. And not only am I going to stay in politics, I am switching to the other team because I really liked what Carney said in his speech at the pedo elitist getaway.
oh man.
And I will say this. I've listened to the speech. He said a lot of good things.
Mhm.
The problem is, though, is that all of the politics, like Trudeau also did a wonderful speech for Trudeau
Yeah.
at that when he was in power. And none of it was came true. None of the things he said he would do, he did. So what's the point? It's all just words.
Yes.
It's not, there's no action behind it. They're getting up there, they're saying all of the right things, but then they're not doing it. Other things that piss me off about this guy. Apparently, he said that when he resigned, that his salary that he's still earning until there's like a by-election or whatever, right? Because if you step down and there's a by-election, and that's what's happening in Bill Blair's riding and Chrystia Freeland's riding and whoever the other person's riding is, because they have stepped down from their position, there is an election.
Yep.
His election, I guess, because for whatever reason they didn't do the paperwork or what, it didn't get to the date that he said that he was gonna. No by-election. He just gets to keep doing it. But he said that he would donate his salary to charity. Best of my knowledge, he has not donated a single penny and has continued to collect that salary and now will continue to collect that salary by switching teams.
There's got to be a mechanism where his constituents can call a by-election based on like lack of trust, right?
Nope. We do
Really?
not have
And-
recall legislation in this
Oh,
country.
that's true. So, yeah, I guess so. I've always thought of recall legislation as like a higher level, but I guess because he didn't file the paperwork for actual resignation and it was just a
I would still fight it, like if I could, and
Yeah.
be like, no, 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 doesn't matter. Like it would be one thing if he got up and said, like, I'm considering resigning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, he publicly announced his resignation. And it wasn't like it was like he did that, on Friday and now on Monday he regrets it and like takes it back, which
Yeah.
I still would be pissed off about. But at least it's like, okay, it's done close enough that he would cut the guy some slack, right? This
Yeah.
is months later. He resigned in November. It's now end of February.
Yeah.
If he's getting some remorse about this, it should have been not weeks ago, months ago. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to justify that, mostly
yeah,
because I don't know, there's a lot of wild things going on out in Alberta right now anyway. So to me, I'm just I don't like to sit on the political sidelines, but I kind of feel like I'm at the point where, watching these guys make moves, I'm kind of like sitting here with popcorn being like, well, what kind of shit show of a movie is this going to be? Because all of it is
yeah. And
just
the
it's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane.
well, and the thing, like, so this guy has been like shadow minister for health, infrastructure, innovation, so he is a trusted member of the Conservative Party, right? Like he has held important positions in it.
Makes you really wonder, like, how did they get to him? Right?
Yeah,
Like, how
I'm
did they
just
get to him? Like, Polyev and his conservatives could not have been so horrible. And yeah, I haven't listened to the whole Davos speech, but I've heard too many people reference it to give a crap. It can't
yeah.
be that good. It was not gilded in gold. And if anybody knows anything about those folks, nobody cares about this speech. I want to see it in action, right? So there's a whole process there that's crazy. But there is we would have all
Yeah.
heard something in the news if there was something in the Conservative Party that went so awry that people would cross the floor, okay? Because there there's no
Yeah.
other reason to make that decision. Like a speech sure did not spur this man across the floor.
No, that
Like,
would have been some crazy friggin', speech.
yeah, that was like empowering and like
But
JFK or MLK style. Like
yeah,
none of that
well,
has happened.
well, and so like I just pulled up the election results for this last election here. So I guess some of the stuff you got to go back even further because this is somewhat of a new riding,
Okay.
but like this area in general has not had a liberal person, even though they've split the riding and all of the things. But so this riding is a relatively new one. When it was first opened up, he was the guy that won, and he won with 49.9% of the vote back in 2015.
Okay. Oh, okay.
In the most recent election, where did I just have those numbers? There they are. He won with 50.25. So
Huge support.
just slightly over half, right,
Yeah.
of the population. The next closest candidate was the Liberal candidate who got 44.82. So we'll round. So we'll call it 50% and 45%. So 5% of the population difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's significant, I would say,
I think so. Yeah.
especially since like the next closest candidate was the NDP candidate who got just over 4% of the vote,
Yeah.
right? So like, and I would say that like a 5%, so he may lose a percent or two for people that for whatever reason swing one way or the other, they're there. 5% is still a majority conservative vote, I
Mhm.
would say. Like he would have to lose 3% for the person to win over him, basically, with a 5 point difference. That's not happening. So his bullshit of allow me to quote here. After further reflection with my family and conversations with colleagues and constituents, I will be continuing to serve in Parliament, and I'll be working with Prime Minister Mark Carney as part of his new government to help build our country's strength as we face our challenges ahead. You did not talk to your constituents.
Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I'm going to be really honest. My my MP, my local MP, conservative. My area is conservative, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I had to think about that. Um, but like there's not really they don't connect really unless you
No.
are an active member of society. Like there's no mechanism like a referendum. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that would be the only way to kind of get feedback in the appropriate manner.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that yeah, I'm almost like my brain is almost a little broken at some of this stuff. Just
What's it?
because it's really hard to like you just want to shake somebody because you're like, hey, I have some answers for this. These people are sketchy. Like,
It's just
sort
so
it out.
disingenuous. Like
Yeah.
your area has always been conservative, and now all of a sudden you're just deciding like. So a follow-up kind of thing to here is former deputy leader of the Conservative Party of Canada has a message for other party members who are considering crossing the floor.
Just get it over with.
Get it over with, and like don't draw this out. And
Mhm.
I agree. Like I don't want anyone else to cross because then they have a majority, and
But
that is not what like the people voted, and the
Mhm.
people voted slightly in favor of the liberals. I don't like that, but I have to like I'm not going to be like not my prime minister. Like no,
Yeah.
this is the
Oh,
will of the people. This is what they reluctantly voted for. You have now had multiple politicians crossing the floor, and it is changing the balance of power. And it is just not what the people want because they're doing this. And like we said, they should have, if you want to change parties, you should have to step down, run an election, and run under that banner
I agree.
and let the people decide what they want.
Absolutely. And I think it creates okay, so it says this a former deputy leader says it's all of this is a distraction. It's not
Yeah.
helping the average um taxpayer. It's a bit of a parlor game, backroom politics. What a lot of people forget too is that, well, maybe they don't. This is just something that I observe is that the more that you get people behaving this way, the greater the distrust of these independent, like these individual parties occurs.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, either something is happening behind the scenes that is, negative with the Conservative Party that's causing people to want to leave it, or there's so much, disunity and like
Yeah.
snakes in the
But
house. There's so many snakes in the house that
well,
like
but if you like, and I would agree, but you go back a couple of weeks and the conservatives had their like membership meeting, like their AGM, and PP won with like 85% of the vote. So
yeah,
of the people that are part of the party, which includes the MPs that are part of the party, 85% or 87 or like some ridiculously high number of confidence in him as leader.
yeah, exactly.
It would have been different if it was like 50-50 and like he just squeaked out a win or like, then yeah, I would get why people want to jump ship, right?
Mhm.
But when your party, despite not winning, did really well in the election, which he did, if you look at the numbers and all of that, it's like, this is just crazy, but yeah.
It
I
is.
agree though. Like just if they're gonna do this, just pull the band-aid off. Let's get this over with rather than just like dragging this out and like, yeah,
It's messy and it's really hard to like I just don't call him crazy, but I don't have confidence in political
no,
parties because of shit like this. I
no.
mean, I don't trust a politician as far as I can throw them, but
Well,
um,
yeah, and this is exactly why, because it's like you won with a majority vote. Your party did well despite not winning. You just had a leadership evaluation and the guy got very high and you're still like, no, I'm still gonna flip sides.
I shouldn't say that. It's not that I don't trust all politicians. I shouldn't say that because there has been historically a couple politicians that I'm like, hey, you know what? You touch grass frequently. So, like you're pretty based.
Yeah,
It's fine. And they are people that are trying to make a difference in a positive way. Um, but a lot of politicians, and I feel like this is just an example, a glowing example of this. A lot of politicians seem to, whether intentionally or not, get wrapped up in this idea of you know, career success
yeah,
and, like this isn't a corporation where you want to climb the ladder to CEO, but they're behaving like it is,
yeah,
And it's like, if that was the case, let's look at your sales numbers and see how much productivity you have,
yeah,
like you can't
yeah.
do both. You can't
Well, and
behave like,
that's yeah. I wish they would
yeah,
the politicians would do what they're supposed to do and actually represent their constituents and not the party.
yeah.
But this is the shitty system we have, and we have to live with it. And yeah, but speaking of judging people by their productivity, Nova
Oh.
Scotia budget, 1.2 billion deficit and tough decisions on spending cuts. So the
That's
finance minister has tabled a budget with a 1.2 billion deficit and warns that difficult decisions will need to be made to balance the books, which has opposition leaders wondering how the province will weather the next few years financially.
Nova Scotia is liberal, are they not?
They were, but I believe they are currently a conservative government.
Okay. Okay. Which interesting.
Yeah. So the budget, which is titled Defending Nova Scotia, includes revenues of just over 17 billion and expenses of 18.9 billion.
Do you think that some of those expenses, though, have to do with, I'm not going to word this right at all. I don't even know how to say it, but there's quite a bit of influx of individuals from across the border on the East Coast.
Are
And I
you
would,
saying that the social programs are potentially inflating the expenses?
yeah,
I mean, I would not be surprised by that. I would have to dive into the
yeah,
numbers.
that's what I'm kind
Um,
of wondering.
but so what they're saying here, though, is that the largest line item on this budget is the 35.5% of it is $6.7 billion in health spending.
We saw that coming though with the boomers getting older. So,
Yeah.
like, I guess
And
it's just there's more boomers in Nova Scotia because there's
yeah,
everybody that wants to have a, you know,
yeah.
there's
So
lots of
their
people that live
plan
in that
here,
Nova
yeah,
Scotia
in order
thing.
to contain expenses, the budget includes a 5% yearly cut in the civil service and a 3% cut in public service and crown corporations, which is projected to save 95 million.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah. But I mean, like it seems like the feds are going to try to do with some of this stuff is that the way they're doing it is through like retirement and like attrition. So they're just not going to hire people or replace people as they drop off.
I mean, if you have to do it, that's better than laying people off because
Yes.
side of it too is that you're not paying, like severances and you're not paying like
Yeah.
employment
Yeah.
stuff. So,
And yeah, like some of that makes sense. Like, yeah, you don't want to just fire people. And then especially if they've been there a while, it's like you're not going to really see that savings potentially until 6 months or maybe even longer down the road because they may have been there for years and need their severance. They're also saying that some cuts have already started. Last week, they closed three provincial museums as well as several tourist information centers. They will also be reducing grants to organizations to the tune of 130 million.
That's interesting. That's interesting because um yeah, that's a pretty big hit.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
and like I don't know, I'm torn on some of this stuff. I think that like we forget a lot of history, sometimes willingly, sometimes not so, and that things like museums and all of that are important to preserve the past.
Mhm.
But also, they should kind of operate as a business and at least break even. We
Well,
shouldn't be having to subsidize it. And if we are, then it should be like voluntary subsidizing of partnering with businesses that want to advertise and things like that, as opposed to your tax dollars going to the museum because sometimes the museums are stupid and not
yeah,
relevant.
yes. Well, and I think I do agree that I think that it's very important for like education and history and all those things. But I
Yeah.
agree that there's some like redundancies and some, like micro topics that don't really make sense in terms
Yeah.
of not necessarily in terms of like having a museum, but making it a public entity that is funded by the taxpayers. I do think that honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I think that every province um and maybe regions as well, I don't know. I haven't really outthought this, but should have at least one free museum that covers like the province's history, and it's a big one and it's robust. But everything
Yeah.
else, like, sort it out yourself.
Well, and like it's like, and I don't want to shit on any one area, but I know like not too far away from here is like the tobacco growing museum. And
Yeah.
like at one point in time, that area was known for growing tobacco and they want to preserve their history, and I'm all about it. But
Mhm.
also, it's kind of funny that like they're trying to stop people from smoking, but I'm sure they're also now paying money into this museum in order to keep it afloat to preserve this history of a thing that they're trying to discourage you from doing. So it's hard to celebrate this town and its history all while they're doing this. And it's weird. And do we maybe need it? I don't know. Like the
I
local community could maybe prop this up voluntarily somehow with minimal to no government assistance, at least on the prevent like the municipal one, and then people can vote on it if they want it or not.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
But
really interesting because this is almost like socialism coming home to roost.
yeah,
Because what ends up happening when you have a social structure, um, people get really comfortable paying taxes and then just expecting everything to be there and available.
yeah,
And it's like, well, yeah, but you're compliant now because you've just been dumping money.
yeah,
It's like there's an offset. So if you want these nice things, either you have to do them yourself
yep,
and volunteer your time, because volunteerism has also taken a nosedive because
yeah.
folks are, like also hustling 10 times more to make
Yeah.
money because of
Everything is so expensive, so their
tax.
ability to donate money has gone down.
And even
And
donate
the time, yeah,
like
because you have to work overtime now in order to afford the thing. So, like, yeah, your free time is gone, your money is gone.
exactly. But this is like socialism coming home to roost. And the East
Yeah,
Coast has always been a really interesting, like, display of, oh, okay, well, our, I
yeah.
don't want to call them freeloaders, but, they don't. Oh, do you know what the data is on like what Nova Scotia contributes to the overall GDP or, investment in Canada, or are they just kind of like Quebec and they get a lot of money funneled into them?
I would say that they probably get a fair amount of money funneled into them.
Yeah.
But yeah, some interesting things here. So there, the current government there is saying that, we're seeing cuts across the board and increases in ministerial and political budgets to help them manage the storm as they decrease the thing. Or sorry, no, that's the NDP leader that's saying this, and this is completely unacceptable. So they're like cutting in one side, but then bumping up things in another. And then they're also saying here that across the sectors that are most valuable to Nova Scotians are traditional industries, our arts and culture, our science, our management.
That last one could probably be dropped.
Yeah, but aren't like, isn't that just like everything? Like there's kind of just saying that like, so everything is important.
So this is the thing, is that traditional industries, I'm not really sure what that is.
That's
Um,
probably like
they've got some fuel out there, they've got
farming like
lumber.
potatoes and things like that,
Yeah,
fishing,
yeah, you're right. So probably okay, traditional industries, they probably, yeah. Okay.
stuff like
That makes
that. But like
arts and
arts and
culture,
culture, so like
if I'm
again,
being
like
honest, I think a lot of that stuff needs to be like, I think, okay, one museum to cover the whole province,
well, and
but
like
like the
this
rest of
arts and
it,
culture thing kind of pisses every time I go see like a Hollywood movie. And then at the end, the credits scroll, and you're waiting for like, the little like 30-second clip of the sequel at the end of the credits. And then you see like this film was made possible by, and then there's all like it grossed like 60 bajillion dollars, but then they still managed to get grants from like Ontario and Quebec and this and that. It's like, why are we paying big Hollywood studios money to make movies when they're making like they should be making it because it's going to make them money. That's their investment.
well,
Like
I don't know anything about that, but
and but that's the arts and culture budget for a province. Like some like whether that's
uh,
Nova Scotia or not, I don't know, but there's at least some of that. I'm sure they are putting money into like local filmmakers and photographers and artists and all this that get these grants in order to make art. And like that's cool and all, but like if it can't be a viable business, maybe don't take it on as your full-time employment and maybe get a real job.
well,
Like I don't want to be that guy, but like I'm gonna be that guy because
yeah.
we all have to like accept that like the realities of things and that we are adults and maybe we can't like necessarily make a living at doing art. And like it's great if we can, but if we can't, we shouldn't be asking the government to subsidize our poor choice of livelihood.
Well, and I think it's interesting because like I definitely agree with you. I always get a little nervous about, arts and culture, like what that is defined as, because I never want to see, heritage things go to waste. Um, but I'm also somebody that, has a huge appreciation for history and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
same. And like like I
there's
was
a line though. Modern stuff, like hard pass, you know.
like I mean I like doing I mean I was just at the opera,
Yeah, I
right?
love
Like
that. Yeah.
but like I pay a ticket price, I go see the thing,
Yes.
I go to the tobacco museum, I pay an entry fee,
Yep.
like all of those things. And if you can't at least break even,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Find a
Right.
way to do that. And like you go to the opera and like there are sponsors that pay to advertise there, and that hopefully helps float the
Offset.
cost of some of this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And same, so that all goes into that budget. And like, unless something is like super important and key to like the province or municipalities, like true heart and culture of the thing, and if it disappears, it's a travesty. We shouldn't be doing that. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
No,
they got to get their shit sorted. But like, yeah, the previous government is trying to complain and blame the new government, saying that like when we lost power, the budget was balanced and there was an abundance, sorry, an unprecedented amount of revenue,
yeah.
is what they're saying. And they're also saying that you can't cut 20% of the government and expect no impact to services. I'm willing to bet that you can.
Well, so here's the thing is that yes, somebody is going to have an impact of like interruption of service. Somebody is, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
gonna
But is
happen.
that going to be a negative thing?
I was
Maybe
gonna say,
not.
I was like, but there's a huge demographic of people that I think get, I don't want to say in excess because I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not over there, but I can tell you that like we live in a country that has excess, that lives in excess.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about trimming the fat, you
Yeah.
know, it can be done. and it can be done
Absolutely, yeah.
very effectively. And when people talk about not balancing the budget, I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, you know, I don't believe that for a second. I do think that some things will make people uncomfortable. So,
But Carney told us we're all going to have to suffer and have some sacrifice in order to get through all of this while he jet sets around the world and buys fancy dinners and all of the things like that. But like it's totally different when he does it. Totally different. We all need to suffer.
yeah,
We
we're
deserve it.
gonna we're gonna have a difference of opinions
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, though, because the walls are closing in on President Trump, says
Mm.
Doug Ford, over the Supreme Court decision on tariffs. I'm sure him and Carney will all take credit for Supreme Court saying that Trump's tariffs were not legally allowed, um, even though they had nothing to do with this. So yes,
Oh, but Ford for sure he did.
yeah.
With all the work in the LCBO, like
Oh yeah,
he won it. He won it.
totally. Never mind that the bottles are still there and we've already paid for them. And probably took out a loan in order to pay for them because we didn't have money coming back in because we weren't selling them. But that's a totally unrelated thing. Don't look too far into this. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Hmm.
But yes, the Supreme Court has decided that a bunch of the tariffs that Trump put on Canada and Canadian goods going into the States, of which we retaliated and then we took them down and then he lied about it and all of the other things, see previous episodes, have now been decided that they are illegal. So what Trump did is he signed another executive order to enact a 10% worldwide tax starting tomorrow under a different legal avenue.
Hmm. When the U.S. Customs and Border Protection stops collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
also, again, on Saturday, he vowed to increase the duty to 15%. And the tariff will expire after 150 days, but Congress can vote to extend it. Also, specific sector tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, automobiles remain in place and are not affected by the Supreme Court ruling. So basically, nothing has happened.
Well, I was
We
gonna
still,
say because of Kusma, like there's different sets of rules.
yeah.
Like, ugh,
And we negotiated that terribly because the person that was supposed to be negotiating that on our behalf, if I recall correctly, was too busy attending an anti-Trump rally to be there advocating for Canada during the talks.
great.
Yeah. So
I just
it's a
can't.
very long-winded way of saying sweet fuck all has happened and we are still going to get tariffs.
And oh my gosh, yeah, whatever.
But it's okay. This is a big step forward and a win, and the walls are closing around Trump.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But speaking of the US again, US transport numbers show sharp plunge in Canadian travel amid trade war.
It, it's
So,
it's wild how much um
yeah,
so when I was traveling internationally, the automatic assumption is when you sound like me that you're American, right? And then I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm Canadian." And they would apologize, you know. So there's this perception, and I think that, you know, a lot of Canadians have it and share it. And I have quite a few older people on my book of face that um, you know, have this hate on for US.
well,
And it's such an interesting, it's such like
there's
when I
so much
look back,
bullshit though going on with all of
yes.
this. Like, because I see it on the Book of Faces as well, where like there's like these rage bait articles that
Oh
people are
yeah.
putting out there where they're like, so and so crossed the border and got arrested or this or that,
Yeah.
but they leave out like key details or like Canadians will now have to have their picture taken at the border. I was like, that has been happening for fucking years, and it's
Yeah.
not like it's just Canadians. It's literally everyone crossing the border
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
all sides is
Yeah.
having their photo taken and has for years, but like the people that don't stop and think or aren't like worldly in that they don't even like drive across the border to the largest land border in the world that is immediately adjacent to them.
Yeah.
Like they get rage baited into this. They see it on Facebook and they
Yeah.
get so like angry. Like I saw one where they were like, Canadians will now have to pay higher entry fees to US state parks. And it's like, but it's not just Canadians, it's any
That's everybody.
non-citizen,
Yeah.
which is normal.
Yeah.
They're trying to, and like, and the way they frame it is like, it's not meant to be a penalty against Canadians and foreigners. It's meant to be an incentive to get people in your own country to travel around your own country and visit your historical and important sites.
But also, okay, so and I actually don't mind that method because here's the thing. It's not even as much about like pushing that education
Yeah.
piece, but it's also understanding that those individuals, if you are a member of that country, there's a certain amount of tax dollars that go into
Well,
the
and yeah,
that.
you should get a
So
break. Yeah.
you should get a break,
Yeah,
right?
you've already slightly paid for this, so we're going to
Yes.
give you a bit of a
Yes.
break. Absolutely, as
And
opposed to here where we did it the opposite way, where it's like, oh, you're a citizen and always have been,
yeah,
you have to pay full price. Oh, you newcomer, you get to go and explore for cheaper and or free.
yeah, I
Like,
had some problems.
no. But
I,
yeah, so there's a ton of this. Like the
well,
media
and
is
I
doing it and they're like just they're driving the boomers and all of the like uneducated
well,
people wild with these things that like anti-Trump, anti-American stuff, and it's not even based on factual stuff. It's just
no, it's not.
nonsense.
It is. And I think that like if you were to look at the numbers, I have not, but if you were to look at the numbers, you are going to see that there is a ton of people that are not going down to the States
Yeah,
of the demographic of boomers for a
yeah.
couple of
Eight,
reasons. One,
18.8% compared to the previous year, they're saying.
yeah. So,
That's
but this is the
massive.
thing. It is a massive drop, but I think that there's probably some good data out there that says, okay, well, the boomers that did all the snowbirding and
Yeah.
all the traveling, couple of things, they're the ones that are the most influenced by the
Oh,
propagandized hate, um,
yeah.
like the weaponized dialogues that are happening
Oh,
on
yeah.
Facebook. They're also like that group of people is also getting a lot older too. Like they're
Well,
not
yeah.
traveling anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like it's they're just not. And then the other side of it too is that everybody's living expenses are increasing.
Yeah.
You used to be able to cross the border and go to like a decent hotel that, cost you a decent amount of money every night. You can't do that anymore.
No.
You can't like you're spending there's certain places in the States. I've stayed in some divey places, but there is some places in the States that I won't stay at like motels
Yeah.
or anything like that because there's a certain demographic of people
Yeah.
that now reside in those areas that don't have the same cultural and social values that I do that put maybe myself and my
Yeah.
travel companions at risk,
Yeah.
you know? Did I
Yeah.
say that politely enough?
No, yeah. No, I agree. I wouldn't stay
Did a
in
pretty good
Minnesota
job.
either. But like, or Baltimore or a bunch
Yeah.
of other
There's
places.
a
Yeah.
whole bunch of places that I'm just
Yeah.
like, you know what?
Try to stay out of parts of Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, personally,
But
I'm not worried about myself, but like I never travel alone. Like there's
yeah,
I'm usually with like a group of my female friends that maybe don't have the same, you know,
they aren't taking boxing classes, is what you're saying. And they should be.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, but I mean, I think that, yeah, there's a bunch of all of that happening, but I think the biggest one is the media just like because I can't even tell you how many times I've been across the border flying and or driving. It's this year alone. Like I've driven across multiple times. Like I was in Vegas, I was in Tampa, I'm off to Orlando like this week. So like those are three trips where I've flown and I've driven across a handful of times already. And we're only at the end of February, right? Like, so I cross the border frequently, and everyone's always like, "Oh, is it like difficult or like?" And I'm like, "No. If anything,
Oh,
it's easier now because there's nobody doing it."
yeah.
But they're always like, "Well, what about like did they check your phone or did they do that?" Like, no. They've never done that. You know why? Because I'm not a shitty criminal that like, and part of the thing is maybe that like now under the current administration and their sort of focus on immigration and border security, rules that were on the books but never enforced are
Yeah.
being enforced now. And maybe some people that had previously been able to get across with
Mhm.
no issue are now having issues because a rule is being enforced and they
Yeah.
should never have been able to cross before, but they did.
Well, and that's the,
But
but
because
like
yeah, it's but
this is
I've never had an issue. And like all the bullshit, like they have been taking my photo as I cross the border as far as I can remember for decades now. But also, it's a border.
yeah.
Even if I didn't stop to think about it, I would know that they're taking, like, that is a secure area. They want to know who's crossing. So I would want them to take my photo and the photo of everybody else
Yes.
because I don't want random people that are not vetted coming into my country.
So that's actually a really interesting thing because like I would say that aside from crossing the Canadian US border, I mean I traveled to some places, but over the last 6 months I've traveled quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you were all over the place.
I was I hit up
Yeah.
continents and countries and different things. But I'll tell you this, I don't know how many times I had to go through multiple checkpoints like and these are
Yeah.
in places that folks are like, oh, they've got such a good system. And I was like, yeah, but has anybody been through Heathrow Airport where you're going through two levels of like even just a layover? You have to go
Yeah.
through security again, which is actually identical to the security procedure in China.
Yeah.
So, like, when people talk about these things, I'm like, no, no, that's very, like,
Well,
that's insanely
if
normal.
anything, I want more, like, because I've gone through a bunch of those places, and even like in my travels coming back here, we've slacked off on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like last time I went through Heathrow, landed, and I didn't talk to a person. You just like
You follow the lines. Yeah.
stick your passport into the reader in front of the glass doors, and it opens, and then you're like, so I'm just like in the UK now? Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't talk to a person. Like, and I get it. Like, we've created technology, and it's about like
Yeah.
focusing on like I have friends that work in border security, so like I know, and like it's doing the job of those people and focusing on the people that hopefully are
Yeah.
more important than me. And by more important, I mean less suspicious or more suspicious than I am.
Yeah.
But like it's the same thing happening now when I land in Toronto and I go through, and sometimes I haven't had to talk to anybody,
I
and
did.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I at least want a physical person to look at my piece of paper and take their red pen and put the line through
Yes,
it,
I know. I know. Yeah,
as
your
opposed
declaration
to
form
I
being
just
like, oh, hey.
fed it into a machine and like because somebody should be there making a judgment, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
I will say that Pearson is my least favorite airport that I've like for so many reasons, but one of them is that I feel like
Like,
it's the least secure but the most chaotic.
yeah, and like I don't want like security to be a hassle. Like I don't want that,
No.
right? Like, but it needs to be an appropriate level of screening.
Yes. Agreed.
And I get that different people, depending on where they're from and all of the things, are going to get screened differently. And I'm fine with that because
Yeah.
that's part of the threat model, right? Like, don't focus on everyone, focus on the people that are more likely to be a threat. And like, I'm fine with computers doing that, but I still want a person at some point making a decision, I guess. But I don't know. It's just,
I think that's a reasonable thing. And I do think that, even just based on this news article,
yeah,
like there's a lot of things that go into this.
yeah.
But I do think that, the fear
Yeah.
monger is real,
Oh,
um,
for sure.
especially
And like,
compared to the reality of
it's
what it
yeah,
is.
it's the media and it's all of the like fake accounts on Facebook using AI to generate bullshit like rage bait articles and all this. And the thing I'm going to use this as a segue into the next one because this is the funny thing is like we have been encouraged by all of this media apparatus to dissuade us from going to America.
Yeah.
And they have been pushing us, or at least suggesting that instead of going to America, we go slightly further south and go to Mexico.
Oh my gosh. So this is so fascinating to me because everybody has been pushing Mexico and even places like Cuba, where it's like, listen, those countries are not
And
like that. They're not great. Like Cuba, you can't get home from there right now because they're in a fuel crisis. You've got,
well, you can't get home from Mexico either right now because
right,
there are 26,000 Canadians in Mexico. As we said earlier, the cartel violence hits Puerto Vallarta. And like, I love Mexico. I've been there. I was
sure,
there
yeah,
recently.
yeah,
But I also understand, like, there are places in the world, and I love traveling, and I will continue to travel, and I will go to Mexico again, and I will go to other weird places, as you were just in a bunch of weird places where, like, maybe they're not the safest,
yeah,
but I understand that risk.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
accept that risk, and I take precautions when I travel.
Yes,
I bring first aid kits. I bring all of the things
yes,
that I need. I have contingency plans and all of this stuff that if something bad happens, I know I'll be okay, or at least I will most likely be okay.
yes.
But it's just wild that like we were told not to go to the US and that we should go to Mexico.
Okay.
Now, like, and I
It's
don't want to laugh about it because it's horrible because there are innocent people that are getting hurt and
no,
just like
but like,
lives disrupted and all of that, and that's horrible. But they are pushing us to go to somewhere that like even before all of this,
yes, that's what I was getting at. It has always been volatile. Like
yes.
always, always has been
I
volatile.
mean, it's been relatively calm for Mexico for a while.
Yeah, but there's
But
things
this is not the first time that something like this has happened.
also like, okay, so it's, you know how when you travel to places, there's always something that everybody just knows. You
Yeah.
know, there's things that everybody just knows. Okay. So in Mexico, it seems to be, and when you go to a country that these are the things that you know about, like shake your head a little bit and realize that this is a potential byproduct of it. So
Well,
one of the things is like, hey, don't trust the police.
yeah.
Okay. That's a known thing for people traveling to Mexico. Don't trust the military. And like, if you don't interrupt the cartel's doings, you're fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so
And
when
it sucks for these people that went there and have nothing to do with any of the thing that is
yes,
going on. And it just so happens that the military and the US decided to take out the cartel guy and then they retaliated. Like that's just bad luck.
yes, it
But
is.
also you went to a place and like Puerto Vallarta is really nice and all of that. And like I said, like I was with Ed while all this is going on, and there were people that were at the class going, I have friends in Puerto Vallarta right now
Ah,
at the resorts where the staff have just fucked off, and now you get all these people that are stuck at a resort that are complaining that they're stuck at a resort. I don't know, maybe go raid the food places and the water places and just barricade yourself in the room for a few days. You'll be fine. But that aside, like the cartel is that like so Puerto Vallarta is in like Jalisco, and then it's the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. So like the name is in the name of the place, and that's where they operate. And I'm sure there's a cartel that operates in every province, state, or whatever of Mexico, just like there are criminal organizations that operate in every state, province across North America. But also, yeah, you should know these things before you go to places because you should do your due diligence and research where you're going and what's
yes,
happening.
yeah,
And like, I guess, yeah, you don't know when the government is going to decide to do like a snatch and grab kind of thing on somebody that's super dangerous. But also, yeah, it is Mexico. And the guy, Ed from Mexico, calls Mexico the upside down because Mexico is so crazy and always has been.
yeah,
And like things that are not normal anywhere else in the world, he's like, they're normal in Mexico because it's Mexico. Like, people don't do that. They think resort, beaches, pina coladas, margaritas, palm trees, everything is great. And it is when it is.
Well, this is the thing is that, I hadn't really looked at a Mexican map in a while. So like I've really just been on the um
Well, but stuff has popped off
Cancun side.
all over the country too as a
Right.
result
Well,
of this.
yeah, for sure it is. But like that coastline has always had problems.
Yes.
Like that has
Yeah.
been a bit of a hotbed.
That is one of the most volatile and most dangerous cartels in Mexico. And right now it is super dangerous because like they're in like the death throes because a bunch of the high up leadership. But
Yeah.
anyways, it we were told not to go to US because Orange Man bad. We were pushed to go to Mexico,
And
and
look at
now
this.
this
Or
happens.
you could be in Cancun and at the
Yeah,
Marriott getting food
yeah,
poisoning. So
yeah. And now we have like all these people that are stranded there, and that's horrible. But now they're like, I mean, I saw some people complaining that like, well, the airlines are gouging us and they're like this and that. And it's like, well, but like you realize that like in the airport that's there, which is Guadalajara Airport, there were gunmen shooting in the airport.
yeah,
So me as a pilot of something like a regular civilian pilot, I don't get paid to get shot at.
no.
So expecting that the airline like it'd be one thing if there was something going on in a different part of the country or far enough away from the airport that it's safe. But like the last time that shit like this happened in Mexico, they were shooting at the airplanes. And now you have people that are already at the airport with guns and are just randomly shooting in the airport. If I was a pilot, even a very well-paid pilot, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not flying.
Well, and I'm
Like
sure
I might fly my ass out of there if I was there, but if I was flying into there now, I'd be like, no, you can't pay me enough.
well,
And now
and
they want global affairs
right
to
to
do something about it. And it's
well,
like,
I don't
what
know.
are they going to do? They handle like import and export stuff. This is a like,
Terrorist kind of issue. Well,
like, yeah,
this is
they're like,
is that they have protocols for this kind of thing. They have
yeah,
protocols.
you call the embassy, not global affairs. Be
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm stranded in Mexico. Could we like maybe send the military to fly a fucking plane in or a boat or something
Well,
to get us out of here?
this is also really interesting. And I only encountered this once, but I do this every time I travel. First of all, I know where the Canadian embassy is every time I travel somewhere. I like know where it is. But
Yeah,
I did this once and I haven't seen it really since. So I kind of wonder if it's maybe just in certain areas. Probably 10 years ago, I was able to do this. I have not seen a spot on the embassy websites to do this since, but you used to be able to, or I was able to, and I don't even remember what country, it might have been Mexico, like register that I was going
yeah,
to that country.
yeah. I will
Um,
be there from this time to that time so
yeah,
that if something happens, you know that I'm there and I
yes,
don't have to do it when there's an emergency and everyone's
yeah,
trying to do it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, that was a thing that people did.
yeah, and I don't know, like I haven't actually been able to find that as an option since that time, that one time. So
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of embassies do that anymore, but I think that people forget that, your embassy is very available and accessible to you. And some embassies also host events
Yeah.
in the country you're in, and you can go to those events if you're,
Yeah.
Canadian, like go to the event, do the thing,
Yeah. Meet
participate.
other Canadians that are in country and like get
Absolutely.
something out of your tax dollars. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just, like use it as a resource. And there's, some apps that you can download. I know everybody gets a little sticky about technology, but like I know even just going to was it Portugal many years ago, I downloaded an app for that and they tell you everything from like, crime stats to, driving to everything, just
Yeah.
everything like weather. Um,
But
people don't prepare for their holidays and their trips. Uh,
no. But
and
it's people are
that's
so used to everything just working out that they
ugh,
don't plan. And like anytime that you plan anything, you should, pace,
mhm,
primary, alternate, contingency and emergency. You should have like four plans or like some facsimile of that to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but I'll tell you, people are gonna figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and like, and this you get Minister Anita Anand, the, Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's okay. The federal government is working on plans to assist, but they didn't share any further details and said that like Mexican authorities have told her they expect the situation to normalize. So to just go back to the normal amount of cartel violence and not the escalated amount. But it's okay. She's quoted as saying that she's in contact with her Mexican counterpart who expect the situation to normalize in coming days. Our ambassador and consular staff are working with their counterparts to ensure that Canadians remain safe.
Now, okay, so if you scroll down, Canadians are being urged to register with GAC either by calling to register. So
Yeah.
that's what I think I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's that registration where it's just, and I know that people don't like it, but
But
guess what? You're already traveling on a passport. So it really like you're already in the system as being in the country. Don't be a prude about it. Like
Well,
get in.
but this is something that like people could do in advance, especially if they're doing there, because now you've got 26,000 people trying to
That's
call the staff that I'm sure the staff that are there, like depending on exactly where the embassy is, like if the embassy happens to be in the city where this is going on, they're either stuck in the embassy and not allowed to leave,
yeah.
or they were home and are now staying at home so they don't get shot trying to get to the embassy. So they're going to either have people there that are exhausted
Mhm.
and they're stuck there getting swamped with phone calls, or they're going to be understaffed because nobody's there.
Yeah. Well, and
But you could just do it online in advance and they would already know and be able to contact you and do all of the things rather than like 26,000 people all trying to reach out to this embassy all at once
yeah.
and to an agency that can't really do anything about it. Like global affair, what are they going to do? Nothing. Like when I like before the when the pistol free started, but before the C-21 or whatever nonsense it was went through, they were the people that I had to get paperwork from in order to clear my pistol through customs when I traveled with it. And even they didn't know what they were doing on that because nobody told them. And now you're expecting that same group of people that just handles like import paperwork for like goods to somehow coordinate a rescue effort for 26,000 people?
Yes. That is what they're saying.
Like, I don't even think the military could coordinate a rescue effort for 26,000 people, but they'd probably be a hell of a lot better at it than global affairs because at least they would know the resources they have at hand to do this. Because, again, gunmen at airport shooting at airplanes,
Hmm.
they're not going to just like, Porter, WestJet, Air Canada, can you guys do us a solid and fly a few planes over there? Yeah, I get it. You guys just have commercial airlines. There's no guns, there's no nothing. And yes, they will be shooting at you, and your pilots get paid shitty wages. But could you please totally send them there? Like everything will be fine. That's not happening.
It's not how
It's
people
not happening.
not how people operate. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, but I think also again, stuff like this really shows the holes in some of the infrastructural things that
Yeah.
people, I hope that people hold themselves and our government to task um, because it also affects their personal comfort and safety. So I think hopefully it'll make people a little bit more
Yeah.
conscious of like, oh, wait, we got rid of a lot of our resources that, could actually do something about this.
Yeah.
Um,
So we
so
spend it on arts and culture instead. So
yeah, yeah. So, instead of being able to have like emergency services that would go into a country to deal with this sort of thing, you
yeah.
know, we're gonna have to overtax like some couple hundred folks that work out of one building,
Yeah.
to deal with this. So Yeah, it's just interesting. I hope people become more acutely aware as like unrest
Well,
happens
people take
that
more precautions and like
uh,
accept some personal responsibility when it comes
uh,
to their own safety and preparedness.
yeah.
But it's okay. Government is totally efficient and moves at a lightning speed, unless, of course, you are Canada Post.
Okay.
Canada Post workers will begin voting on tentative agreements in April. So this has been like an ongoing thing for months now.
Is this
And I
the
guess they're finally getting to a point where they're going to vote about it. But they're not voting about it immediately. They're going to vote about it in like a month.
is this still a follow from the Christmas
Yeah.
issue?
And I think it even started before then.
It did because they did some like seriously, obviously beneficial negotiating
Yeah.
to to stop another close at Christmas.
Yeah.
But even this is saying, that the CUPW members have been without a new contract since November of 2023. And that makes sense because was it 2024 that they pretty much shut down Christmas?
Yeah. I'd say that time frame sounds about right. And like this year, they didn't shut it down totally, but there were massive disruptions and everything. But it's
Yeah.
okay. The federal government this month has said that it would loan Canada Post another $1 billion.
What is it loan? What?
It's loaning itself money. It's a crown corporation of which the federal government is now loaning the money because Canada Post is losing something like $10 million a day because, and I have friends that work for it. There's nothing against them, but as a whole, Canada Post does a
That
shit job.
sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks. Yeah.
Like they can't get thing like their whole job is to take a thing and move it from one part of the country to the other. And
Yeah.
as somebody that runs a business that does that, I mean, I rely on other businesses that actually do the moving part, but like it's all part of the logistics chain. We try to use Canada Post as little as possible because they do a terrible job.
I think most businesses
They
agree.
are a last resort for us. The only time we use them is when we have to go to Beyond Points because they're the only people that deal with it. If
Exactly.
they did a better job,
Yeah.
then maybe we would use them for other things. But again, like there's been a problem, it's been an ongoing problem, and I'm great that they're finding a solution to this. But why are they taking so long to vote on it? Vote on it now. Why do they have to wait till April?
Would that be April would be maybe the start of the second quarter? Would that have anything to do with it?
Maybe, but like they're saying, yeah. So the TENF agreement, which was announced in December after 2 years of negotiations, was finalized in January.
Right.
Okay. So why not vote on it in February or March? Why are we waiting until April? Like, stop moving at a snail's pace.
Vetted somehow. I'm just throwing
I
things out. I mean,
I know, and I'm sure there's a
process.
reason.
Yeah, the process is astounding. I'm also just like I scanned ahead here.
Yeah.
6.5% wage increase is insane.
Yes.
That's insane. I mean, to be fair, like over 3 years, November to 2 years, that is, combining that you're
Yeah.
gonna see a little, you see cost of living in there for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
And I mean, they
3%
should
the
be
second
paid
year.
a fair
But,
wage.
but those but those are above cost of living. Those are
And
above
that's
cost of
and
living
like they need to make some
this.
adjustments because they haven't got that or like the workers should get a fair wage.
I agreed.
Everyone should
I
get a
think
fair wage.
I think everybody knows that if you're working for Canada Post, you're making
But you get a lot
good
of perks
money.
from working there,
Good money. Yeah.
right?
So
And for the
and
money, they should
like
maybe be doing better service, but
well, and that's not the workers' fault. This is the problem. Well, I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure some of it is the workers' fault, but the whole flow of operation just seems to be
Hmm.
not well laid
But
out.
I think that again is a government problem. It's not, yeah.
It's an
But
operation
yeah.
problem. It's not an individual problem.
Well, and like I think this is exactly this is probably why it's taking so long to fucking vote on this too, right? Because there's some bloated bureaucratic process they have to go through, which I imagine is the same thing for everything.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, bloated bureaucratic processes here. The Senate panel says immigration measures should be removed from border bill.
Excuse me?
Yep. Senators on the Social Affairs Committee want to see immigration-related sections in the government's Border Security Bill, C-12, removed or significantly modified.
Okay, let's find out. Before I get too pissed off, I just want to see what.
So, focuses on integration that deal with information sharing and managing the asylum system. There's also pros giving the government new powers to modify or cancel existing immigration documents and applications.
I think that that's really important.
I would say that, like, yeah,
Like,
I mean, you have a border security bill.
yeah.
I mean, if the measures that they're trying to implement are ones where you're not allowed to cancel things, then I would say yes, they should be removed, but I don't think that's the case. Um,
There's a huge drop in the asylum cases already.
well, that's just because they haven't been caught doing crimes yet, and they need to apply for asylum in order to not stand trial, or when they do stand trial, to be let go and not face the criminal charges because they're seeking asylum now.
Oh, and some of it's retroactive. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think it's really interesting, but I also think it's I don't know enough about it, but I can tell you as somebody that has worked in sourcing individuals for companies, um it's pretty evident. And like certain jobs get a lot more traction, obviously,
Yeah.
but you definitely see a lot more visaed individuals, um like a lot, like, and it's really challenging because employment legislation is now being written surrounding immigration status and qualifications and different things like that. And I think that if you don't have measures in place to reduce the amount of, you know, immigrants coming in for whatever reason,
Well,
you're going to see a really weird ripple effect.
well,
So,
and yeah, and like looking at this and like yeah, if they implement these things, there's a bunch of people who are seeking asylum that are going to be turned away.
yeah,
And part of that is that Amnesty International and some other people are saying that if we do this, some of the groups that are going to be affected are LGBTQ plus whatever other numbers, letters, or other symbols that are part of that, and survivors of domestic violence
yeah.
are going to be, disproportionately affected by this. Well, this is where like
Okay, so then,
I feel bad for anyone that has to suffer anything that is not like their fault. Like
okay, so
you
this is
shouldn't be beat up or persecuted because
right.
of things like that. But
Absolutely.
that shouldn't also give you like if your spouse beats you and that's why you're seeking asylum versus the government beats you and you're like I don't think that one should be treated any differently than the other.
Well, and
Is
yeah,
like
so here's the other thing too, and I heard somebody speak on this. I think it was on another podcast that there was a guest speaker, and you probably would remember this. I feel like it's a podcast you would have listened to, but he was talking about our perception. This guy was former,
yeah.
three-letter agency. Um, and he said that our perception of like accepting immigrants, like we don't have to. It's not our
Yeah.
responsibility to.
No.
It does not make you a bad person. I think that empathizing and being really, you know, sensitive towards folks that are being abused in other countries and are looking to find asylum, I think it's reasonable to be upset for them and say, hey, we
Yeah,
want to do what we can. But until there's a mechanism in place that says, hey, we can verify that you are not a criminal entity or a threat to the individuals in this country already. Like, I look at the UK where I was, and, there's thousands coming in
yeah,
daily, right? And the biggest question that they asked is, why are there no women and children? Because
yeah.
if we're using those standards, if we're using the standards that they're accusing this of preventing, we still know that most domestic violence, even in developed countries, are against women. There is, and I'm not generalizing, but like in
No, yeah,
developing countries where these
yeah.
individuals are coming from, it certainly is
But
violence
but
against
and
women and
that's the thing.
children.
Like I
So, that's a caveat for like, okay, well, we can maybe filter out, and it's like, men, go back home, you know?
yeah. Well,
Like
but
sort
the
of,
problem is, and I think this is the thing though, and it's the same with like, I mean, I had someone had this whole fucking argument on DEI and all that, and I think this is the problem though, is like a lot of that stuff at heart is good.
yeah,
The problem is the application of it,
yes,
right? Like, yes, you should hire people from wherever and with whatever because it's not relevant. Like, you
yes,
shouldn't even have to worry
agreed.
about that. It should just be, I don't care where you're from, what language you originally spoke, what your religion is, what your like here are the qualifications for the job and everything else is irrelevant. Just
Absolutely.
like if you're persecuted because you live in a country where they don't like the LGBTQ whatever things and they're murdering you, that is bad and yes, you should be able to seek asylum. If you live in another area where you're being persecuted because of your religion or what like whatever, but the problem is that when you do that, there are going to be people that jump the line.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's the problem I have with a lot of this stuff is it's like none of those things like if you're gay and you're being murdered in your country, does that get you ahead of the Christian that's being murdered?
In
And
your
I'm
country.
not part of either of those groups because so it doesn't affect me personally, but
Oh,
like
it's
to
not
me those are the same problem.
right.
It
Exactly.
doesn't matter why you're being persecuted, it's that you're being persecuted and at that point
And
maybe first come first serve isn't the best way, but like is your death imminent? Then
yeah,
maybe you jump the line. If it's
right.
like
But at the same time too, like this is where I'm getting a little hard-nosed, and not because I have no empathy
but
for these
but
individuals,
also it's not our problem.
but that's exactly it, is that, well, I just want to know, like, I don't even trust my own government on a lot of things.
Oh
Why on
yeah,
earth would I trust
and
somebody who maybe has a culture of survivalism that they're willing to lie about everything
well, and
to get
that's
into a situation?
and
So what's the litmus test for success here? Like,
absolutely, and like I can't totally shit on all of this because like my father came to Canada as a refugee,
sure.
and so like I don't think that some of these programs shouldn't exist, but there needs to be like a process and like everything should be treated equally, and
And
that
I don't think that they should
and I
adjust
think
the process for volume. So a lot of people are,
yeah.
well, there's so many people wanting to get through asylum, so we need to like rush the program. And it's no different than, these certification and labor, you get
Well,
new
and that
permanent
ties into
residents
the
or
next
whatever.
one where like we
Yeah.
were overwhelmed by asylum claims. So rather than like putting a pause,
Yeah.
we just started rubber stamping them.
Yes.
And then that makes it even worse and more rife for abuse. And this is why we're having people here now where it's like, oh, the like, so and so managed to get in their claim. Let's put ours in.
Well, and
And
there's
then you got criminal, like legit criminals that have
yes.
like done like, and I'm not talking like petty crime like littering,
No,
like
murder,
legit, yeah, murder, kids stuff, like
terrorism.
horrible, horrible, horrible
Yes.
things that they're like, oh, well, if we punish them, that'll affect their immigration claim, their asylum. And like, yes, absolutely, it should. It
It
should
should. It
100%
should.
affect their claim and they should go
Absolutely.
out. You shouldn't have somebody that like comes here, somehow gets let in because their asylum claim is getting processed. So they haven't even been like
Yep.
officially admitted yet. But also, if you're already here and you've been here a while and we're let in, like if you come here, you should have to claim asylum immediately, which I believe is the rule. You can't
Yeah.
come here, live here
But
for a
it's
little
just
bit,
like
and
an app.
then claim it.
It's just an app, isn't it?
Probably, but like the rule
So,
is, I think, is like the minute that you are at the border of a safe country, you are
mhm,
supposed to apply for asylum. It is not, I get to come in here, I get to live here for 6 months, and
mhm,
then I get caught doing something, or I overstay my visitor visa or whatever, and then I claim asylum. It's no. The minute that I am presented to a border authority, I have to claim asylum.
mhm.
Or if I like manage to sneak across the border because I'm truly like fleeing a horrible country, the minute that I'm inside of a safe country, I need to go like directly to border security or contact them to be like, hey, I illegally crossed the border. I am at this location. I am claiming asylum. Please come and pick me up. People that do that, I would have far more leeway and willingness to bargain with them because they have done the process properly.
Yep.
Again, they should be judged based on like the same fair criteria as everybody else.
Yep.
But like that's the problem is that like we're creating these different rules for different people and prioritizing one group over another group, even though like their situation is almost identical.
Yeah. It's pretty
And
wild.
that's the problem, right? Like it's not like I said, like the heart of DEI is fine. It's the application of it is always the problem
Well,
because it always ends up favoring somebody.
but the other side of it too, that a lot of folks maybe people do realize that, maybe they don't. I don't know. But like I guess we kind of reduce people to that thing, you know, when you're hiring somebody based on those things, you're reducing their capability. You're reducing
Yeah.
them as an individual to, a label. And isn't that what every human rights activist has fought against? Is to be like a label identified situation?
Yes, but also like
Like,
that's literally what we've been doing since the dawn of time is putting people in boxes because putting people in boxes has kept us safe. And we're never going to eliminate that.
no. But I just find that it's
Yeah.
such an interesting, the same people
Yeah.
that are like, oh, hey, we want equality, have now
Yeah.
moved to this like pendulum swung
Well,
list.
yeah.
It's just a tick box that gets you ahead of the line because A, B,
Yeah,
C.
but when they put you in a box, it's different than when like the other side puts you in a box. Because this box means you have the ability to like go and get privilege or whatever, whereas the other one you've already had privilege bestowed upon you, even though you don't actually have privilege bestowed upon you because you're now the one that is propping up the country and paying the taxes and doing all the hard work.
Yes, agreed.
But yeah,
Agreed.
although here's a good, we'll finish it on this one here is a good story and a bad story all at once.
Mhm.
London, Ontario cricket plant ordered into receivership amid 41 million debt bill to creditor.
Oh my gosh. So nobody
Um,
wanted to buy cricket protein?
yes, so the good news is that nobody has wanted to buy cricket protein, which is oddly a thing that came up in conversation over the weekend where there were some people that were like in favor of it. And like that's fine if you want to do that, like go right ahead, but I sure as shit am not.
I
In a
don't,
survival situation, I'll eat all the crickets.
well, this is my thing. I
But
don't,
voluntarily, like, no, I'm gonna eat a burger.
yeah. So this is the thing. I actually don't think that it's a bad move, like in terms of understanding how protein comes from other animals, right? Because
Yeah.
that's, I don't, like insect, whatever.
Like at
That's
base
not a problem.
level science, like protein is
Yes.
protein is protein.
And you know what? Some people might prefer it. But I think that where people got really heckled up is that they were talking about this being an alternative to meat. And that's when people start
Or
getting,
being allowed to put it into things without labeling it
yes,
correctly or at
yes,
all.
all of those things, like the duplicitousness of, people's behavior surrounding food safety and just like awareness, I think
Yeah.
is where, the individuals who already have mistrust
Yeah.
issues are going to be, like 1,000 times more mistrusting. Like that's it.
Well, yeah, and my problem with this here is we helped them with 35 million in federal funding through
Yeah.
the Sustainable Development Technology Canada, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, so that name is far too long. So people like stop listening once you start reading the name and stop paying attention, which is probably their point. But
Yeah.
like we gave them $35 million to start a business that's supposed to be sustainable because that's the first word in this organization's name. And somehow they managed to burn through $35 million
Yeah.
and then rack up another $41 million in debt. So clearly they were not sustainable. So if this was a viable business, they should have been able to go to a bank and get a loan, and the bank would take that risk, and that's their problem then. But yeah, so like I'm angry that we spent $35 million and probably more
Yeah.
because I'm sure like some of these bills are to like other things and people are going to have to eat it and then there's going to be like insurance claims or whatever to whoever that are going to cost us somewhere down the line again. But I'm also very happy that like the people pushed back on this whole cricket protein bullshit because like if you want to eat them, I don't care as long as it's voluntary. If you choose to eat cricket meat and you like it, great, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But being like tricked into doing it or being told that you have to do that is not something I'm okay with.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting at the bottom of this, like, I mean, this is CBC, so I have zero trust in them.
Yeah.
But the guy even says, the journalist even says, second to bottom, final point. Since opening, the London plants has been dogged by bizarre conspiracy theories that it's part of a shadowy government plot to force people to eat insects. And it's such an interesting thing because it's like,
But we gave them a $35 million grant, so I wouldn't call that a
yeah.
conspiracy theory.
Well, and this is the thing is that I don't what I think people struggle with is transparency. Like if like we've been told to read our labels on our
Yeah.
food, right? So now that we're actually doing it, you don't like that because now we're like, hey, that's not cool. But then people want to know where their money is going. Like as soon as they say that the government is putting money into something, like people want, I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of people agree with where funding is going in Canada,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of people that are called conspiracy theorists because of that. But I also think that the people that are just whatever, their head in the sand, they don't pay attention to any of this stuff. And if they did pay attention, they'd be shocked, I think.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's
yeah,
just,
exactly. Right. Like, yeah, it's you guys should do that. And we start making all these rules that everything needs to be labeled and in the thing.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, so we do that. Like, wait a minute, why does this say cricket protein?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Or what is this word that
And then
doesn't
they
actually,
change it to
yeah.
something else that we now have to research it. And then like all of a sudden people are like, fuck that, I'm not doing this. You're just a bunch of conspiracy theory. Like, no, no,
Yeah.
no. The government gave them $35 million because they thought that people would want to do this or they were trying to get people to do this. It's one or
Yes.
the other. They
Yes.
thought it was a smart investment.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's been a really interesting, I don't know. I don't know if the government or, the political elites or the social elites, whatever you want to call them, thought that we were all just too stupid or, but there's been a lot of push towards some really weird things.
Yeah.
that, has kind of fallen through. And whether that fall through is because their test didn't quite work out, or whether people are just like, hey, this is,
Yeah.
no. And I don't know, but I think it's all
Yeah.
very odd. And I know I'm somebody who sounds like one of those crazy conspiracy theories, but when the things start
No,
being,
we've been proven right
yeah,
more
I
than
was
we've
gonna
been
say
proven wrong.
it's not a conspiracy when it's proven right.
Yeah.
The very definition of that word denotes that. So,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, it's interesting, but
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy and angry all at the same time, which is pretty much par for the course with this podcast. But yeah, so I'm glad that we are down one cricket protein plant because yeah, fuck that.
yeah.
Um, all right, that brings this episode to a close. So when you're not on here or gallivanting around the world or boxing, where can people find you or not find you?
Probably if you don't already know how to find me, like just don't find
No,
me.
yeah, no, OPSEC's a thing. It's important. If you want, you can find me on the Instagram, UrbexGTA. You can see all of my fun photos of me doing weird things with my friends in weird places. Apologies to Rod. He couldn't make it on the show. Um, he was busy eating cricket protein to stay healthy. And so he didn't want to disrupt his dinner time, so he couldn't make it onto the show. I get it, if I don't eat, I get hangry as well. So
Yeah.
you got to watch out for that. But I would like to remind everyone, though, that you are a small fringe minority or majority that doesn't eat cricket meat.